All right, so we're changing up the format a little bit for you guys for these types of videos, but basically today what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you my particular setup in regards to boosting your cell signal and even your LTE 5G signal if you've got data, if you're not using a Starlink, which you don't actually need a Starlink if you're going this route. Like in my case, I just have like a really good data plan with Rogers. I have it in Canada and the US, and I have like something like 265 gigs of data, of 5G data, and then LTE is unlimited. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to show you guys how to optimize that kind of setup for when you're off grid, when you're in a state park, or when, you're just generally in places that are like have less reception. But so far in the US, it's been pretty good. I'm in a state park right now, and when I got here, wherever I was parked, I had LTE and I had 1 bar. So the internet was a bit slower than what I was experiencing in the previous days. But the second I plugged this thing in, which is the Signal Bricks, there's a lot of different models, so I'll just leave the link to the particular model I'm talking about in the description. But there was no setup required, like no apps. Like I just plugged it in and boom, right away I got full bars and 5G. So I was very impressed because this is actually the first time I'm using it. So I'm going to show you how that looks like. It's not a permanent installation because I don't want it to be always on. I don't always need it. But I don't know if you can see behind me, but right there I have it set up on my ladder. I also have the ability to set it up on a boom pole if I want to, which is what I use for my sound recordist work back home actually. And that one can go up 10 feet if I wanted to. But in this case, I think just setting it up like a bit higher and outside your van is pretty good. But if you're in an area that has like very little reception, because keep in mind, you're gonna have to have at least 1 bar. If you have 0 bars whatsoever, even if you buy like $1,000 cell booster, it won't make a difference. So in this case, like just get a decent one, like the one I'm gonna recommend, but you don't have to go crazy and splurge hundreds of dollars for something, because it won't make a difference. You need to have at least 1 bar. So in this case, we had the bars and it just simply boosted the signal. So I have this cable and it's going basically all the way on the inside. And on the inside, we have our receiver, which is the actual booster part of it, because the antenna is just like a directional antenna. And if you can see it over here, it's right behind me. It's this little guy over here. So it's kind of like a router basically for internet, but this is what you plug into. For example, right now I have plugged into my Jackery battery, and it takes very little power. It takes like 10 watts, so this thing could actually last quite a while. And yeah, the cable they give with it is pretty long, so I actually have a lot of extra if I wanted to, bring it up even higher. So let me just get out of here. All right. But yeah, and like I said, I can confirm that this actually works. As long as you have 1 bar of signal, it will actually make a noticeable difference. And in this case, it got me from LTE to 5G, like just by plugging it in. So it's pretty impressive. I'm very happy with it. This one ran me, if I remember correctly, like 200 to 300 Canadian dollars. So they have a lot of models, like I said. So I'll leave the link to this one. There are some at like $700, $800 even in other companies, but don't bother, guys. Like as long as you have like a decent quality one like this one and you have at least 1 bar of signal, you're good to go. But like I said, if you're really struggling and you have very little bars, getting it up higher, like on a boom pole or something that extend, like some sort of telescopic pole would definitely get you a little bit more range, because a lot of times it could be the trees that are blocking the signal, and but here we're close to the ocean, so maybe that's why it's not that bad. But in Canada specifically, I've gone to, parks and stuff and conservation areas where there's like barely any signal. So I'll give you guys an update once I try it out over there. But so far, it's been really amazing. So if you have any questions, leave them out in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. If you're building something that's meant to last, whether it's a camper van, a business, or just a better way of living, I'm glad you're here. Everything I use, recommend, or offer is linked in the description. Take what works, build your own blueprint, and I'll see you in the next one.